left. So Astrolab could have 18 booths last ISNA convention. Today they have a 0 booth. It doesn't work out for them. Economics didn't work. Sarvision used to have 8 booths. Well, we still have probably 6 booths. I don't know exactly the number because we knew where we were getting. And I told Astrolab, don't do those big foolish things. There's not the time to spend money in that way. Save some money. And that is important for individual organizations as well. The last thing is something fast, just like listening. You cannot get to be a speaker and a writer and an interpersonal relationship unless you're listening. Same thing, something which I'm bringing to the last is the first thing. That how you're going to draw strength to deal with all what Muslims are facing. Collectively, personally, individually, and organizationally. And that's where spirituality comes in. That's where I wish Ingrid was here and she could have addressed that aspect of it, although I didn't have a conversation with her about her coming here. Allah in the Quran says that وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ. You draw strength. And word isti'ana is not like in Urdu we say madad or aun in Arabic. When you have this Arabic construction which has alif seen, it means that you really pay attention and struggle and strive to draw attention. It's not that, oh, could you help me with the glass, and you gave me the glass. It is really going after digging it out and getting it and paying attention. Seek help in a best possible manner with sabr, patience, realizing that you don't control all the variables, but you trust in Allah. You'll do your best, but He's going to be there for you. And you have personal communication. You're talking to Him day in and day out on a personal level. Best communication with God is through prayer, salat. But ask Him in Urdu, ask Him in whatever your language is, but have that personal connection. Because unless you have that strength, you're going to give up. Remember I mentioned that 50% Arab Americans have clinical signs of depression. One way to deal with that is prayer. One day I wrote an article based on things which I practice myself. How to deal with this stress and anxiety, because I don't have a time, I have to handle so many organizations. And I say, okay, 26 ways of dealing with the stress and anxiety. I put it on the internet. It became one of the most popular articles I have written in the last 5-6 years. And I have not only Muslim, non-Muslim writing, oh, I just Googled prayer and stress and your article came, and I'm Catholic in Australia, but I like to really, really thank you for what you have written, because it helps me with my day. So prayer and connection with a bigger power, Allah, is going to be very important in the survival game. Okay, here's my conclusion. Number one, your organization is facing challenges, so are other organizations. Muslim individuals are facing challenges, Muslim as a whole are facing challenges. To meet those challenges, we need to plan organizationally and personally. And a skill set which is needed for Islam, family, and our own job and professional life are communication listening, learning to speak, learning to write, and learning interpersonal skills. And last thing was that whatever we had in the thinking retreat and this conversation and the question which you raised need to be plugged into a final plan. It will come when 2-3 of you, it should be open since you are mostly Toronto people, it should be in Toronto, it should be open to everybody. But at least 3 of you should commit that we're going to spend a couple of days together, eating, sleeping, talking, and we will come up with this document, that this is our plan, and then share with others before you finalize and take your time for that. Well, thank you so much. I took your time, but that's how I saw I can contribute to the concern which you have raised.
Thank you.
Thank you. Questions?
Do you talked about communication being one of the key factors in camp, sort of perhaps even champion that cause. do you think instead of going internally just to camp, that we can sort of partner with groups that are out there already, since instead of reinventing the wheel, there's a lot of good groups that are out there? Do you recommend using that sort of way to?
You see, organizations need to define themselves. And the way definition of organization come when they have exclusivity on certain things and collaboration on other things. Organizations which are in the survival game, if they collaborate more, they die early. Because it's not clear what they do. You become better collaborator if you are good. If you have some energy, something's going, you know what you are, what you're doing, then you have surplus energies. And you use surplus energy to leverage working with others. So for interfaith work, I advise masjid, if you don't have enough volunteers, you can dilute those volunteers and there will be more demand of the interfaith work because the church is organized by full-time people. In Chicago, I got 138 masjids. Out of that, there are only 10 full-time imams. How many places these people are going to go? So I rather create more energy and more people first. And that's where I would say if you focus and capitalize on skill set, community organizing skills, you do workshops on that, speech skills, writing skills, and you do workshops and you lead, and then you have other organizations endorsing and supporting you, giving you a little bit of money, so at least it will become part of defining yourself. Same area you mentioned, the area that you got this three. You have students, then you have professionals who are bachelors and they have time and things like that. Then you have married professionals. A married professional need to have, I would say, a separate circle in which only married professionals are involved. And those are the type of things which probably they will prefer. And you take it easy. You don't demand the time which you used to demand them before they got married. Because if you continue to place higher demand, at that time when they are developing something else, you are sort of telling them, putting them on shame, and they will then shy away that, it's not working for us with you. So you need to think that it's a time in which you need to give them time, but these are the activities which they can get involved, the whole layer. So your definition is word professional. Nobody has capitalized on the word professional as much as you have done. This is your achievement. Second, your achievement is nobody has capitalized on social relationship as much you have done. Keep building on those two, add some workshop and technique of one-on-one relationship to getting more people involved in this process. That may be enough for you.
When you say dilute, like you have 10 full-time moms and 130 people.
138 mosques.
138 mosques, right. That takes coordination, and so how, one thing that becomes overwhelming is we have, for example, in New York, lots of people willing to volunteer, but then from a coordinational standpoint, and it could be really simple. I know that we met from North Carolina.
Awesome.
Awesome, yes. He's from Chicago, and he made another comment to us about while growing up. This is totally separate, but he said that when someone died in the community, that they had a 1-800 number or some phone number. They called, and there was one person on call for that weekend or for that day, and so they had a rotating kind of situation. So I'm saying coordination, to set something up like that, which is volunteerism, but something very important, and it's diluted among the community, so nobody is kind of bearing the burden of all the organization. So just kind of ideas like that.
I would say this, that I don't agree with you.
Okay.
Nicely, with smile.
I don't know what you don't agree with.
Reason is that whether it's easy for few people who know each other to get something accomplished. When you want to coordinate with independent entities, if you want to do really good and do for a while, it requires extra time to relate, listen to each other, develop understanding, memorandum understanding. Most united Muslim things break apart because people don't have time for each other. Council of Islamic Organization doesn't do anything. We just coordinate. So what happens is that when we have all energies focused on coordination, people expect coordination from us. And we try to say, oh, this particular service, let's have that organization handle it. And we'll just publicize it.
Oh, no, and that's what I'm asking. I'm saying in the case of the 138 mosques and 10 imams, how do you do that?
If you're focused just on that particular point, I will explain to you that we have 500 imams in the city.
Okay.
I'm an imam,
Okay.
but I'm not a paid imam. I'm not a full-time imam.
Okay.
I'm a graduate of a madrasa. I have degrees in this field, but I'm not paid for it. I volunteer my time. So there are a circuit of volunteers and an electronic listserv which council has set up for that purpose. So people are being served. All I want to tell you was that how I like ideally all 138 masjid to have full-time imam. More than half of them can afford. They haven't come to realization that this profession is an important profession and people need to dedicate to that. They still think we can go around with the volunteers. That problem is not of the resources and coordination, it's a problem of understanding. So I have written articles about it, I constantly preach. Our council used to be all volunteer council. But 2 years ago we have 1.5 employee, one more person was part-time. Now we have 13 employees. Actually I'm hiring, anyone of you who wants to apply, I'm looking for 2-3 great people. So the point is that organizational focus is important to attract people to the organization. If organizational focus will become coordination while you have not developed your energies and resources, then you will dilute whatever resources you have.
No, and I'm agreeing with you. And
Okay.
I think actually my question was, that's tangential. It was more from an organizational, administrative perspective. How do you know when you have 10 imams, full-time imams, and 500 and 138 masjids, who is making sure, what is the system by which you know that for every Jummah there will be someone giving a khutbah at that masjid?
Oh, this is a marvelous system in
That's what I'm
Chicago which
saying.
is in place for 40 years or more. Just each mosque has, there are 500 imams, not all of them give khutbah all the time,
Yeah.
but they rotate. So 90% of all Chicago mosques, imams rotate. I'm giving one sermon, last sermon I gave in DIC, Ya Allah. I just remember my khutbahs which I have to give. So you go around and each mosque is in charge of informing whose rotation is when. And in high schools, we have 38 high schools where khutbah takes place, so it's a separate circuit of high school. There is a separate circuit of prisons. There is a separate circuit of the regular masjids, separate circuit of MSAs. So different type of people on different circuits. It works because there is a coordinating body which is in existence.
Actually, on that note too, do you coordinate the khutbahs together, or are they separate do you say, let's all talk about one topic, or is it that people have their own?
Once in a month I sent out advice to colleagues that this is an important area in which we need to bring focus, and these are talking points from my perspective.
No, because I was in Chicago with my family last week, and my father went to Jummah on Friday, and he loved the khutbah at this particular mosque, and it was about global warming and how Muslims can help with the environment and stewardship. So
You must have heard my khutbah.
Oh, yeah.
Did he pray in downtown?
State Street?
State Street?
Was that where you were?
That was my sermon.
Oh my goodness.
It's available on DIC online.
Okay.
If you
I have
go
to
there.
tell him that I know you now, so he'll be
Yeah.
so happy.
It is available on DIC. Sometime I do before I write, I wanted to send imams points to give this sermon. So I ended up developing, and that day I had very busy day. So before I could share my notes with other people, I ended up using my own notes, which is nothing wrong with that. If you have interest in the topic, you go on DIC online. The khutbahs are live connected with it. You have to.
I actually had a question. Do you have a good resource for, I'm a high school teacher and they do Friday prayers, and I would want to put you first on what is required for a proper khutbah, like, and, you
There are
know.
lots of people have written on it. I'm not satisfied what is already written on that topic, but there are a lot of people who have written on that. And I have never coordinated khutbah, so I'm not expert on that. My daughter, Tuba, she coordinates khutbah at DePaul University. And she's volunteering today at Salih Bull, so she might have something to be better than the vaccines.
Because a lot of the students end up giving the
Oh, yeah.
so, which is fine, but I just want to know as the person who's
Yeah, there is
organizing it, what is the
there is a
requirements
requirement.
and-
You can send me an email or give me a call and we can talk about it. Anything else regarding planning? Because I had a noon appointment which I need to get to.
What are our next steps?
Next step is a 2-day sleep-in, pajama party, halal pajama party, and brother and sister can participate, in which you dig into writing, because we discussed, last time, and let's say we have a refresher discussion again. Now the document need to be prepared, and then next conversation has to be based on the document, whether you're doing electronically or you're doing physically. And I can, once you develop the document, I will, I care for Muslim professionals deeply. Chicago, if Chicago is any example, Muslim community is built by Muslim professionals. That is our main strength. And that's why when this doctor attack of Glasgow came, I went crazy. In 3 hours, I called a conference call of all Muslim physicians organizations and connected with the lobby firm and this and that. And I changed all my schedule for a week because it was a big attack on Muslim professionals. And there are immigration is dying out. Birth rate, you guys don't produce as much as my generation. And third thing, not many people are converting to Islam. That's a myth. Delete that. I've done thorough research on it. It's a myth. Few people accept Islam, not many, and those who accept Islam, they have a hard time. So growth of Islam is connected with you guys, with professionals. Financially, your success is success of Islam here at this moment. And you being professional and organized and keep moving forward is crucial. So I will spare whatever amount of time it will take for me to read your document and give advice to you on that. This much I will commit. But that will require you guys getting in and really, developing the document which has very, level of all clarity is present there.
Okay, so what sort of homework is involved in this? Or you just want us to organize the 2-day?
Quite a bit of homework.
But
You
it's
have one
basically
meeting, your second
focusing.
meeting.
It's basically focusing and making goals,
A mission
specific goals.
statement.
Getting that time out, getting that time allocation in which you can sit down and discuss and talk about that and write, that's what it's going to take. A longer writing session. So you write a document what the focus, and then you discuss that. I know you guys don't discuss with peanuts, you discuss with chocolates. Mm-hmm. So you discuss that with your chocolates, and okay, this one is done to the level, and you leave that. Okay. Then the second thing comes, okay, let's have this deliberation on this particular issue. You have written it, then you discuss it, you again tweak it. So you can have 3 people with 3 different computers, writing, coming back, discussing, going back to rewriting. That's how I do it.
Canada?
And at the end of those day or 2 days, you will have a bigger document available. And you should have options available for chapters. A chapter can develop either this focus or that focus. So you can give them options for that. But a focus for a Muslim professional association cannot be but professionals and their well-being. And this is the area of high importance. And we'll do whatever we can to help. Since CAMP is technically a member of the Council of Islamic Organization in Chicago, and I have built-in interest in survival and growth of that. So, you have my commitment.
Okay. And you suggest this be in Canada?
Well, it depends where you're going to get people. I mean, if it is, if you want to do it in Chicago, that's good. If you can
We
get some of
tried.
the Americans to come more. But this is for you to decide.
Alternatively, we do have a leadership conference going on at Princeton University on March 22nd. We could make that.
But you need to make an exclusive agenda time-wise on that. If you're doing, for example, ISNA, I consider bad for most of the things. Most people who wanted to meet with me at ISNA, despite whole schedule being full, I told them that this is not appropriate to meet here.
The worst.
This is a, meet and greet type of thing. And that's what we need to do. I mean, relationship is, I come here for. I mean, although I end up doing 10 other things, but this is main thing, main value of ISNA for me. So if there, you can say that we are going to meet for 3 days, and we'll focus 1 day on that agenda and 2 days on this, and everybody is clear and on board, it's fine. But most of the time I have seen it becomes a struggle. Somebody is coming late, somebody leaving early, and then you don't accomplish. So I think the prime thing for you is to come up with that document.
So are you basically saying get a few committed people who have the time to get together for those 2 days and such and work
Absolutely.
this document out and then share it with everybody that maybe
Right.
they can add to
Then
it?
you get into the adoption process,
Yeah.
and you should be willing to constantly modify it until you have consensus on
Okay.
it. Okay, thank you so much.
Jazakallah khair
God bless
for your...
you, and may you succeed in this world, and inshallah in the hereafter as well.